Welcome back to the LCS Countdown. Today's games will be kicking off with Clutch vs. 100 Thieves, a very exciting game. And then we have followed by TSM scoring up against Echo Fox with 2 more matches going on before Optic opposes Team Liquid to round out the day. Now, looking ahead of that, we're going to go to Game 3, where Cloud9's aggressive style have propelled them to second place, but they're facing off against Golden Guardians, who have hit a stride with their late game compositions. So to strategize how these will go up against each other, we've got Isaac and myself here for another dueling draft segments. We've already gone ahead and pre-populated the bans. There was one interesting, I think, that stood out to both Isaac and I, was the fact that I banned Lucian on blue side, which is not something you usually see.
Yeah, the blue side Lucian ban was something I was pretty happy about. I also don't think that the Golden Guardians bot lane is their win condition, and there's 3 bot lane bans, so I was happy to see that. And the Kindred ban here for me really is a nod to Blabber, who has been so strong on the champion, is getting subbed back in today. And I wanted to deny both poke compositions here from C9, which they've been so good on with the Zoe, and also help to protect Froggen from some of the tough matchups with the Cassio ban.
And the Blabber point's really interesting because so far, whenever we've seen Blabber play for C9, they tend to comp around him like they did all last summer. And coming in here, I wasn't exactly sure what they were going to do. But I did go for the Lucian ban so I could take Reksai first pick, super strong in the meta. He played it twice in the academy last night, killed on it. A lot of people think it's one of the new strong champions in North America. So give him comfort right off the bat. And I did this. That's why I banned the Lucian on blue sides. I did not want to give away Lucian to their bot lane, even though I agree it's not really their main win condition.
Yeah, okay, so well, that's a pretty good pick. I must admit, I was hoping to grab the Reksai myself in the first round. I'm not going to be able to do that, but I do want to be able to lock in a pretty strong jungler for myself. So I am going to grab Olaf with my first pick here, and then I'm also going to look to grab my AD carry here, as I will have to grab the Ezreal.
Yeah, of course. Ezreal, one of the main champions in the meta.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting thing, because I was hoping I could get the Ezreal. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, C9 is so strong with their poke compositions, so taking away the Zoe and bans and early picking the Ezreal was one of my main strategies to avoid playing against that. I think that's such a unique comp that they can play, and one of their really most powerful styles.
So even though I'm bummed to not be able to get that for myself, I still think there's a lot of good champions here for our bot lane to take right away. Sivir Alistar, we've seen C9 second rotation this a number of times. It secures your bot lane. You have your jungler taken as well, so I'm not showing my solo lanes quite yet, which is why I went for those 2.
All right, now for the top lane, I am going to lock in my Sion pick, or yes, my Sion pick here. And this is something that I think is just such a strong blind pick in the meta. I can also ban to actually protect it if I need to in the second round. But we have seen almost all of success for Golden Guardians is actually through these team fight top laners, with Urgot getting actually nerfed quite heavily. That is out of the meta. I think Sion is the safest blind pick top laner in the game right now. So this is a team fight composition that I'm looking at right now, and that's going to give me some flexibility with that.
All right, you can go ahead for your next ban, because you got to go up again. I'm bummed that the Sion ban came in, because that is what Honster seems to be playing in these late game team fight compositions. A lot of Urgot, a lot of Sion, a lot of safe laners. Then they can play more around mid lane.
I'm going to ban out the Aatrox because it's a flex pick, right? This is something that I think is another strength of C9. This is a pick that they can send both to top lane as well as to mid lane, and it's a strong early pick. The brand, you can
No, I'm not banning Brand.
That's
a misclick. Banning the Braum, we're mismatched on supports right now, and I would like to get rid of some of the best ones, especially safe ones for Ole, who I think has been exploitable at times.
Again, I'm going to continue to try to target some of those solo laners, especially flex picks. I want to make sure that I know what I'm dealing with here. So flex picks really are my biggest worry, and I'm going to take out another flex pick here. This is something that both Niski and Licorice have played and have been very effective on.
So this is interesting. I was hoping I could grab the Sylas as well. Not going to get it. And I kind of had a contingency plan where if I can grab the Sylas, I'm fine leaving the Karthus up. But if I'm not going to be able to get it, I want to ban it away, because otherwise I'll just steal your ult and I'm more effective in the early game. Since I'm not going to be able to get that, and Karthus is a bit of a weird pick in the mid lane, I don't want to make Licorice or my bot lane have to deal with ults coming in globally. So that was my kind of contingency ban if the Sylas ban came in.
All right, well, for my next pick, I want a little bit of playmaking. I do think this has historically been one of Ole's best picks. It also is fairly strong, into Alistar as an aggressive support. You can obviously flay out of the combo. You have the Lantern for a lot of additional safety there, and this is, again, leaning towards that team fighting style that I think is very, very strong for Golden Guardians.
All right, well, this is one of the most popular top lane carry champions right now. It does get blinded a fair amount. So I'm just going to try and pick Jason Sion. I know it's risky. A lot of people are scared about it. Sion is a little weaker in the early game, so I'm hoping this works out okay. But it's always a little sketchy. And then kind of staying with a more early game focus, Something for Niski that I want to go for is, where's Syndra? Syndra, there she is. So I'm going for a lot more lane dominant style, pushing winning lanes ideally, which gives the Reksai a lot of room to breathe.
Yep, certainly is the case. I do think that Olaf can help to deal with some of the early power there of the Jace, and it is a matchup that as long as Haunter doesn't get too far behind in, I think he should be okay. And I really am looking for comfort here for Froggen. I want the victor. He has actually played this matchup before. He has been successful in it. We saw how good he has been as a team fighter on the pick. This is giving them a tremendous amount of wave clear. I think this is really a strong team fighting team. The plan is Olaf is helping to shore up some of these early lane disadvantages, try to protect and track against the Reksai, and get you to the team fighting stage where I think they have a much easier to execute comp.
All right, so with that done, we're now going to go ahead and ask you guys, Twitch chat and YouTube, who you think won this draft. So go ahead and spam chat with Mark Z or Ezreal with who you think did a better job of it. We'll kind of run through what our thoughts were heading into the drafts and what we were aiming to do a little bit with kind of our win conditions. For me, I know you're going to go mid-late game team fight, so I want to kind of go aggressive early and get a topside carry. I was a little bummed about the Sylas, and I consider maybe I should have taken that instead of the Alistar because neither of us had supports yet, and maybe we can both get strong supports. But that was what I was going for, a lot more focus on my solo lanes with Blabber, because I wanted to get him in a comfortable position as his first game of the season.
And for me, I think Golden Guardian's strength is their late game, is their team fighting. I wanted to get Froggen on a comfort pick. Getting something like the Victor, the Karthus, or even the Anivia, if it was appropriate, was a priority for me. And I wanted Haunter to be on a very stable pick, going up against Licorice, and also to limit flex picks, so I can know where these picks are going and get appropriate matchups, because I do think if Golden Guardians is getting counterpicked in lane, C9 superior laning could bulldoze the game.
Yeah, so we'll see right there. It's pretty close down the middle almost. Isaac winning just a little bit.
Well, you know.
Yeah, just big brain, amazing guy. We're actually gonna have to send Ezreal to the Battle Arena because he's casting game one, so thanks so much for doing this with me. And I'm gonna go rejoin the desk for the rest of predictions. Thank you.
All right, Mark, here you go.
I don't want the high five line. No high five line.
What's funny is I was going to swing it away from you as like the joke.
I knew there was something up. There was something wrong with it.
Yeah, it was a tainted high five. All right, well, we've got your predictions now to talk about how the day is going to play out, and it looks very, very similar, except for Kobe. Here in Clutch vs. 100 Thieves, otherwise kind of expected here.
How can you guys still have so much faith?
I own their stock. I have to.
I mean, they're both at 3 and 7.
They keep making these mistakes. I had to switch it up. You know, Clutch, I feel like they still have the possibility of, you know, Damonte is definitely in a slump, but if you remember back to the beginning of the season, he was playing extremely well, the Akali game, the Galio game, and I think that they can
but
bring
those
it
characters
back.
got nerfed, right?
That's true.
They're not as strong in meta right now. The champions that he was destroying on are no longer the stronger champions in the mid lane. And then when I'm thinking about 100 Thieves versus Clutch, in my mind, I don't think any team's gonna win before 20, 25 minutes. So you have to think about 30 minutes. And I'm thinking about Piglet versus Bang. One's a more recent world champion than the other. And I gotta say, there may or may not be a skill discrepancy there when it comes to team fighting. So I have to put my money into the team fighting with Bang.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Going to send it over to Captain Flowers and Ezreal to get ourselves into game one.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I am Clayton Captain Flowers Reigns, joined by Isaac, Ezreal, Cummings, Bentley. Fantastic job on the draft. Congratulations on your victory.
It was free.
Easy money. Easy claps from my boy Ezreal as we are about to get into the first game of the day here. We are into the second round robin, the second half of the spring split. It's time to put up or shut up, and the two teams about to play in front of us right now, Clutch Gaming and 100 Thieves, have a long journey ahead if they want to make it into playoffs.
Yeah, they certainly do. I mean, these guys are basically facing a must-win situation. Such high expectations, especially for the 100 Thieves roster coming into this season. People were thinking at this point in the year they would be challenging for the top positions, and instead they are in a game where if they lose, they're in sole possession of last place.
No spot that anyone ever wants to be in, but after the end of this one, someone will maintain that sole possession. Let's see who can manage to get themselves out of that hole and start making the journey towards the top. Looking at the bans here as we get into Champion Select. It's Lissandra, first ban by the side of Clutch, also taking the Thresh away, keeping that one out of the hands of aphromoo, as 100 Thieves are saying, you know what? We've been seeing a lot of Yasuo recently. Let's get that one off the table. Remove that Jace as well.
Yeah, Yasuo certainly is getting a lot of popularity in the other regions. We didn't see a tremendous amount of presence towards it in North America over the last couple of weeks, but it definitely makes sense. Huni was a Yasuo player, and it's kind of funny that we actually had them on cooldown, both playing this, and both of them who are professing that they are not Yasuo players, but it is getting banned against them. Maybe it's a Piglet ban.
Yeah, it very much could be. Yasuo can be played all over the place on Summoner's Rift, but not here today. Cassiopeia, the final ban of the first round here for Clutch Gaming. 100 Thieves getting rid of the Zoe there from mid lane.
Sylas says the early pick here is really strong because of its flexibility. Obviously, it does have some fairly strong matchups, but you don't really know where it's going to go. It actually can go any of the top 3 roles. It can go jungle, mid, or top. So it does make it difficult to actually pick into, and I think it's a very strong first early pick.
But you didn't see Clutch wasting any time locking that one in either. Pretty determined in terms of what that strategy is going to be here, as 100 Thieves will lock in with what appears to be the Ezreal now for themselves. Has a couple more seconds to decide on it, but there's no reason not to pick up something like that. This champion has been so incredibly strong. Double tiers, true hybrid build in terms of the Hextech Gunblade with the Sorcerer Shoes and the Iceborne Gauntlet. Real scary.
Yeah, certainly is, and it's also incredibly safe. A lot of people are saying they think 100 Thieves should be just going back to their late game style, stop trying to play early game. Their success last year was through these late game scaling compositions, and I think that Ezreal is certainly a champion we have seen succeed a lot in those scenarios. So Bang set up for success there.
And hey, what's harder to kill than an Ezreal? An Ezreal that has Braum protecting him with shields and glacial fissures and all these obnoxious tools. The Clutch Gaming decided they're going to respond to the bottom lane of their own. The Kai'Sa and the Alistar picked up here.
Yeah, so a lot of CC there already drafted up, ways to actually apply the plasma, not only with the Alistar, but also with the chains from the Sylas. Kai'Sa can certainly follow up on that. It's kind of the beginnings of a bit of a dive composition here, being drafted by Clutch.
The response from 100 Thieves appears to be the Ryze, saying that's what they're going to take up against the Sylas. Of course, if Sylas steals the ultimate, he does have that powerful repositioning tool in terms of the Realm Warp, but it doesn't really give him any in-combat power.
Yeah, and it's always something that's a really good point to track throughout a draft is what ultimates are you actually giving over to Sylas, because that is additional power for him. You don't want to get caught up too much and be drafting bad matchups because you're so worried about the Sylas, but both Ezreal and Braum ultimates are pretty powerful for him to steal. The Ryze certainly not the pick of the litter as far as those stolen ultimates do go. But neither side has picked up a jungler yet. I certainly think we could be seeing some bans thrown in that direction. Reksai, a champion that a lot of people are expecting to be very high presence on this patch, as it's so incredibly popular in solo queue. Lee Sin still very viable, though, of course. We can see tanks such as Sejuani and Olaf and whatnot coming through. So there is a lot of options remaining.
Well, we'll see the Lee Sin taken away from Lira. They want to keep him off those playmakers. Irelia banned out by Clutch. They do not want that in the hands of 100 Thieves here either. 2 more bans to go, 1 for each side. What's it going to be, 100 Thieves? What do you keep away? And it will be that Sejuani.
Yeah, so just a lot of attention towards Lira, trying to ban away some of his comfort picks. Lira certainly hasn't been having his best year, has been struggling there on Clutch, as honestly, the team has in general really not been having a great time. Huni trying to kind of return to his best form, and we did see in their most recent wing, Piglet was playing an Irelia bot lane, and he was talking about his ability to actually play a lot of these different picks, non-meta, non-marksman bot laners, and that he felt he had a lot of them and could really start actually having that as their style. So I'm interested to see if Clutch is actually going to stick to some of these crazy flex picks, if they're going to try to continue that going forward. Obviously here today we do have the Kai'Sa, but still certainly some opportunity for Huni and Damonte to be flexing things around.
Well, we'll see the Jarvan locked in for 100 Thieves. This is a pick we've been seeing more and more of recently. It's come into popularity. We've seen him in the top lane, particularly.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I was going to say is you have a couple of flex picks here. This could theoretically be Ryze top or mid, Jarvan jungle or top. So it does make it very hard for Clutch to actually lock in matchups that they are comfortable in. And this is actually a Karma mid or top. So this is very, very interesting. I had actually been seeing Ssumday practicing some of these enchanter supports, some of these defensive style of characters, and it will make the Kai'Sa very, very strong and very difficult to actually take down. And we're getting a Riven last pick here for Ssumday.
This is what happens when we take the Nerf bat to all of Urgot's little spider legs. We get to see some fun stuff in the top lane, Ezreal.
But I don't think he's going to have any fun. He's playing against Karma, so it
doesn't matter. It's still flashing.
It may actually be Riven jungle. I'm not sure where they're going to land on this. Karma can be very abusive into the melee matchups, especially if you actually want to build and itemize specifically to bully those. This is going to be double physical damage on the top side either way, so I'm not sure if he's going to go a more standard supportive style build where he's going, Ludens in full AP, but you can do things like Roa, Iceborne, Grasp, Shield Max Karma, which is
with Spirit
so
just
obnoxious.
Tank Karma.
Yeah, so we'll see what style it's going to be. It will be the Jarvan top. It is Riven jungle for Onda.
We have seen Jace jungle so far this split. Now we are seeing the Riven jungle. People are starting to experiment quite a bit, showing us all sorts of interesting picks here. And now let's go ahead and do one last check-in, because you did already comment on the fact that you have to keep in mind what Sylas can steal from you once your draft is completed. And over on the side of 100 Thieves, there are quite a few valuable picks. The Jarvan Cataclysm. You have Riven's Wind Slash, which I guess can do your execute, but of course you don't get to hop around and be Riven other than having the Wind Slash, so that one's not quite as good. But as you also said, Ezreal and Braum ultis can make a big difference in the team fight.
Yeah, they certainly can. And a lot of it will as well come down to the laning, right? This is actually a Klepto Karma for Huni here, so he certainly is looking to be very abusive in lane and actually farm with the Klepto. But we are going to have to actually restart this game. There was a 100 Thieves trade that did not go through. I will let you know once we get any further updates.
It seems that the trade, sadly the hype is dead. Riven was supposed to be top, Jarvan was supposed to be jungle. However, the trade did not go through in time before the trade deadline, I guess, was locked. And that means that we have to remake this one. All the picks are going to be the same. We'll get back to champion select very quickly. But we will see Jarvan in the jungle. We will see Riven in the top lane.
Okay. Well, and it's still going to be extremely exciting, right? Riven is still in the game. We still have the pick. And I will be very interested to see how Ssumday and Huni are going to match up in this, because this is obviously a very atypical matchup. This is not something you're going to see every day. And I really do think we have to track very heavily how Huni is going to build this. The tank Karma is certainly a solo queue special, but it's not always something that is going to have as much of an effect once you get to the team fight stage. Whereas if you're playing something like the standard AP Karma, it is easier to actually all in, but it can also be very abusive in lane still. And it is going to have an incredible amount of power when you get to the team fight, supporting that Kai'Sa, assuming Piglet is doing well.
That's what I was thinking of, is if you have that full AP Karma in the top lane, you have a champion that's traditionally thought of, like you said, as an enchanter, as something that's more of a supportive style, and you've got this hyper-scaling AD carry that's now getting 1,000 HP shields.
Yep. It's not a guy with a Sightstone. Instead, he has a Death Cap and an Athenes, right? And that can be incredibly difficult to deal with. As you're saying, so much AP can be coming through that kit. And it's not as though you can't win the lane if you are going AP Karma. It's just a lot riskier because Jarvan plus Riven is an incredibly strong duo for ganking. So if you're pushing, if you're trying to bully, there's a higher chance of you just getting bursted out as opposed to playing more that tank Karma style.
And we know Karma has her shields, and she has the root, and she's actually very effective at dealing with a lot of melee champions, especially those with limited mobility that cannot get on top of her and are sort of stuck in that tether. Unfortunately for Karma players, if we count the number of dashes in Riven's kit, it's actually equal to the number of buttons she can press. So she can get on top of you very, very swiftly, very effectively. And when Jarvan comes in with the EQ combo, it just makes it a nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. It's very easy for Riven to hit the W stun, hit a knock-up out of that. Jarvan can combo off of that. So we'll see how they're going to play around it. I do think that the top lane is going to be very contentious. A lot of onus on these junglers really to be paying attention to that and trying to get that snowballing.
And I think it's cool how the top lane is sort of reflecting how volatile the top lane is a reflection of how volatile this matchup will probably be. Considering, as we said, these teams are at the bottom of the standings. We're over halfway through the split. There's no more time for goofing around. There's no more time for saying, oh, we're going to get it together. We're going to figure it out. Well, okay, do it now. Because if you don't, you aren't going to be able to get it into playoffs. A lot of teams are competitive towards that middle of the pack, and if you want to compete with that big clump of people, you've got to be ready to go.
Yeah, exactly, and there really isn't any time to hide any picks. So you hear a lot about teams, they're saying they're trying to hide their best strategies for playoffs. They're trying to wait for the perfect matchup to bring these things out. If you have anything that you think is going to win you a game, you need to show it on stage immediately. You know, in the heist, the most recent episode of the 100 Thieves documentary, you heard Prawley talking about how, you know, they're extremely disappointed. They're very surprised that they're 3-7, and they need to give, you know, essentially everything they've got. They have to go over 100% to be able to actually bring it back and start getting these wins and make it to playoffs. Huhi himself even talking about how he doesn't even feel like at this point that they are a team. They feel like 5 individual players playing in the same game, but he's never felt like they have been working as a team yet.
it really has been some synergy issues for the side of 100 Thieves. And a quick reminder, once again, we are remaking champion select, picks, bans, all of that is going to be exactly the same, with the single exception of the fact that the Jarvan and the Riven locked in on the side of 100 Thieves were not swapped properly. So the Riven will be in top lane, the Jarvan will be in the jungle. Hopefully we'll have that remade for you all here in just a moment, and we can get into Summoner's Rift.
And I do think it's actually going to be a very exciting patch, especially compared to the last couple that we've gotten, because when you're looking at how much the top lane was dominated by Urgot and Sion and champions along those lines, and even a couple patches before that, the Aatrox, a lot of these champions have all been nerfed now, and I think the playing field has been leveled much more across the board, so there's more room for these carry-style picks, there's less safe blind picks. And even if you're worried about something like the Sion, which is still a very safe blind pick, that's just one ban that it's going to cost you to perhaps force your opponent into something that is more counter-pickable or a carry versus carry style matchup.
And it also creates a world where it's no longer easy to hide behind an OP in top lane. You can't just say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. We'll just neutralize the lane with Sion or Urgot, or we'll just play this thing that's clearly overpowered and you just sort of get through lane with it because it exists. It's going to force your top laners to really show what they've got and step up. Because if you've got to play a bunch of different matchups, especially in a meta that more favors carry-type champions, if you're weak, if you're bad, you're going to get exploited.
Yeah, I mean, those matchups are so much more volatile, right? You know, when you're playing carry versus carry, if you start messing up on trades, if you start making these mistakes, there's a lot less of an opportunity to really come back in some of these games compared to if you're playing a Sion or an Urgot, and okay, great, you're down 10, 15, 20 CS maybe if you've played poorly, but you're still going to have that effect in the team fights because you're going to be able to absorb enough damage to always be relevant.
But if you're Riven, if you're AP Karma, if you're Fiora, if you're something like this, and all of a sudden you're completely out of the game because you've died 3 times and you're 40 CS behind, have fun being a melee minion, bro. Did you go next?
Exactly. I mean, Riven from behind, if you cannot put out a huge amount of damage, if you cannot threaten the backline, you're not worth much.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here as we wait for the game to be remade. So let's send things over to the analyst desk for a quick discussion on 9.4.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the analyst desk. It's no longer countdown. It's just the real game. The real phrase here.
We counted down already.
We counted down. I just didn't know what to do anymore. It's supposed to be like 30 minutes till I'm supposed to talk again. I'm getting there.
Analyst
How y'all
desk.
doing?
Analyst
desk.
Yeah.
Analyst desk, LCS 9.4. Those are the bullet points wrapped around my head. What do y'all want to talk about here?
For me, the thing that jumps out is the reworked Conqueror. It's kind of like a fervor of battle, old thing where it stacks up, not just on attacks now, but on spells, and it gets to this point where you reach a maximum stacks, I believe it's 5, and then you get true damage, and it heals for the true damage that you deal.
Yep.
So it's kind of like this combination of old Conqueror, but a little bit more versatile, and I think you'll probably see a lot of it today and over the coming weeks.
Yeah, especially on champions that can stack it really quickly. I think that's the key here, and it makes sense with the way that the rune is designed. The other big thing that you may have noticed in the drafts that they did, Urgot is dead. We don't have to worry about, Urgot being first pick, even though it was picked in Europe's LEC the other day.
We'll still
For
see
some
it,
reason.
personally.
Please be dead.
I would make a
Korea
bet that
too.
someone picks Urgot, despite the nerfs, because they're just mana nerfs for the most part. And Right. But, if you manage your mana correctly, you might be A-okay.
I think it's almost to the point where you're not even pressing W very much in lane because it's half shield base and ratio on it, so it is a pretty substantial nerf to W, but it could be the kind of thing where Urgot doesn't super need to use that button anyways, so maybe you just...
Doesn't need to use his shield and damage killing button.
But people would press W all the time in laning phase, so maybe you can circumvent it a little bit.
Right, that's not what made him strong in laning phase anyway. It was his range and the damage that he did, right? When I'm watching people go to top lane, I see the Urgot flipping him and then him just doing 500 damage after. They're like, oh my god, that shield is huge, so... Outside of that, I'm slowly just talking about Zed every week that I can until we can get more and more buffs from him personally. They changed his Q to add more damage to it, and then they removed the ultimate aspect where he stole AD from the enemy person and kept it for himself. I don't think that's enough to make him viable yet, so whoever's designing Zed, hear me out here, give him a few more quality of life buffs, maybe a faster W and or the instant R teleport back. I'm going to push that towards them, and then maybe we'll see a lot more Zed. And hopefully
I have a surprise for you, a little present. FLICKR did an interview, and he was talking about Zed, and he was like, yes, I'm really excited about the Zed buffs. For sure, we will see Zed Before Garen. So at least there's that. You'll get his Zed before
That doesn't make me that happy.
You need to hype it up more. You don't say like he needs a couple more quality of life buffs because you want to see him. You're just like, he's great now. He's broken. Everyone watching this, go. Pros.
I think Zed's
waiting
vital,
to play.
personally. But he's already been playing the OPL. They didn't win,
Okay.
but, you know,
Okay.
he's around a little bit.
He got played in Europe and they got to win.
Yeah, before the buff. So, I
Right,
mean,
right.
why not just, you know, snowball that one forward?
You know,
I get it.
just keep giving him buffs until we get back, you know, the assassin meta of like Talon
Great.
and Zed and LeBlanc and all those champions mid and Ahri. I personally find that meta to be very fun.
Yeah.
I'm definitely biased towards that personally.
Sure.
So, yeah, I recommend it, guys.
It was the meta where you didn't lose in groups at Worlds. I'm pretty
Ouch.
because you didn't have to play in them. It was great. I'm just thinking of like.
I've
shade
always
through.
done well at Worlds if you disregard week 2.
Yeah, that's just North America in general. Like that doesn't
Right.
count.
Right.
The 0-10 week 2.
I don't remember that.
Oof.
I wasn't there for that.
That's true.
I was, but we were
didn't
four,
show in game,
We
don't
were
worry.
4 of the 10 losses of that.
I know. But you were 3 of the only wins in the first week, so you know, balanced out a little bit. You guys were okay.
Okay, thank you. That makes me feel a little bit.
Yeah. It's fine.
The other big thing I want to talk about, of course, is Reksai, because I first picked it in my draft versus Ale, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of people will start going to this as one of the top tier junglers. There were a number of changes to Reksai, a lot of them quality of life buffs, but most importantly, how quickly you can get to your true damage E. If you combo really quickly, you can almost get them like while they're still in the stun part of the knockup, and it potentially works obviously well with Conqueror. Some people have been trying that. Who knows if they stick with that?
Yep.
Yeah, the buff that he's referring to is that your Prey Seeker, if you shoot him and you hit it, then you actually
Grants
get
you
Fury,
Fury.
so you
Yep.
don't have to use as many autos to
Yep.
get it. But yeah, also the ult always hitting is definitely
Unless
better.
Unless
actually
you dash
TP.
or get far enough away. So
Like
you,
1200
you can no longer
range.
flash
It's like
it.
absurd.
You have to like time travel to get out of it.
Right, you can no longer flash it, and I read this tweet from Medus that basically said, when you see someone flash it, you know, take something to punish yourself if you flash it
Yeah.
after the patch change.
Just hit yourself on
You gotta
the
get the
mouse
rubber
hand.
band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you gotta smack your face. You're like, oh no, what am I doing?
I mean, you already facepalm when you screw up anyway. So there's an interesting stat I want to bring up because worldwide across 9.3, there was not a single jungler above 50% presence. Which means even the most populous, which is Lee Sin, was still not seen in half-all champ selects. So this was a already like super wide open, very varied champion pool. And I think Reksai is now going to be the queen of jungle and will suddenly like take all this lion's share of attention. And like there's suddenly an S tier jungler when there actually wasn't an S tier jungler last patch.
I'm a little bit less enthusiastic than you as far as like pushing her weight straight to number 1 S tier. You know, gonna be in every single game.
I don't say every game, but I think she will be
I
the number
do
1.
think that she fits the meta really well because she's a very good early game oriented jungler, can gank very quickly with the tunnels and from many different angles, so you can get your strong solo laners or whatever ahead early on and get tower money. However, she still does fall off later in the game.
Sure.
And in North America, our games have gone longer on average than everywhere else in the world.
And it feels like North America in particular seems to take a higher liking to Reksai. There's been a number of regions playing on 9-4, and I think NA Academy was the one that had like 100% pick ban priority on Reksai. And it makes sense, like even in LCS, like Smithy's gonna want to play her for sure. You have probably Meteos. You have both junglers on Optic. I think Dardoch likes playing her. You can even talk about like Onda likes playing Rex. Like we have everyone's a Reksai player. It feels like in North America.
Yeah, I mean, I think Reksai's pretty popular. We can actually take a look at what Champ Select was for this game as we're getting kind of ready to remake it pretty soon. But yeah, Reksai banned in second phase. Of course, not much of a surprise. There was. We know red team gets first pick on the second phase. They banned 2 junglers away themselves with, I think it was Lee Sin and Sejuani off the table. So then, of course, let's deny the best remaining jungler at this point. But still want to talk about the fact that we have a freaking Riven jungle in this one. Was the pickup. There's a Karma top lane, which is really, I think, spicy as well.
Well, the Riven's actually supposed to be top, right? It was just a mistake where they didn't trade
that's
in
what I
time.
missed? Okay.
Yeah, that's why there's a remake, and then they tried to.
Right, okay. So the
swapping
Riven
it
was
now.
top, but
Right, they're
yeah.
swapping.
I mean, it's a really interesting top lane. I know there's a couple Karma players in the top lane. Some of them go tank Karma and just become this like ungankable, shoving auto AFK bot. I I think it's really funny in solo queue. I'm not sure that's the better build in pro. You probably want something a little higher influence with an AP karma, but against Riven, you're just looking to hold that lane down as much as you can.
And it's honestly, to me, fits Huni, because this is the guy who was one of the first ones to bring out Lucian top. He was bringing Spell Thief Zillion a couple weeks ago. Like, he's clearly the guy who's willing to be like, I'm going to play the most annoying, abusive crap possible in this lane and make you just want to AFK out of it and get an edge that way. And it's been almost successful each time.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you. I'd rather see the Karma top lane build, either a full AP or an Ardent Sensor or something in there for, supplementing the Kai'Sa's late game there and trying to boost them, and have the Sylas be the one that builds tank or semi-tank.
I think I actually disagree with that. I feel like if Karma were to build AP, she loses that 1v1 to Riven once it comes to about 2 items, and you really don't want that because then you can't handle the split put pressure. However, if she just builds tank, her 2v2 of Karma, Nocturne versus Jarvan, Riven is actually favored towards them since she's so tanky, and Riven is not. Riven's going to be diving onto the Karma, and they can just kill the Riven before Jarvan and Riven can kill them. And you have so much damage from the Kai'Sa and Sylas already that you don't really need to build more damage. And I don't believe building AP is going to win you the mid game. Unless you're like 3 over that Riven, fine, go def cap. But I would recommend Frozen Fizz.
Well, it's interesting because Sylas can also go more of a bruiser build. So one of those two should go the full AP build, and one should probably go the more bruiser tank AP build. So it can be either one, depending on what you want to do. There's not that many great Sylas ultimates, so I wouldn't mind maybe bruiser Sylas.
I think in general, though, I think Sylas is a stronger champion when you build AP. Just his overall kit, like, he has really good scaling. He has target access, which Karma doesn't. Karma with a bunch of AP is not going to burn through a Braum. He's just too durable for that. She doesn't have the output there, whereas Tank Karma can be sort of a frontliner, can just like chain out crowd control and keep putting out shields. And I would rather Sylas, who will be able to at some point access the Ezreal or trade against the Jarvan, actually get more out of that ability power.
Realistically, you have one combat ultimate for Sylas to steal here. You have Jarvan ult. I mean, you can use the Braum ult, but it's not going to help you kill anyone.
Can you take the Riven ult as well? The Wind Slash?
You can take it, but it's not very strong.
It's not an ideal one,
and obviously Ezreal, you're not going to use it in combat. It's more of like you take it and ult someone before the fight, and Ryze ult is also kind of weird. So it is a bit of a strange game where there's not that many incredible ults to steal for Sylas.
I do like the Braum one, though, too.
The Braum is strong.
Braum's good no matter what, but I think there's 3 that will scale off him getting ability power. Ezreal's will matter, Riven's will matter, because you get the free ratio. Same for Jarvan. It converts for free anyway. 3 in combat, press button, receive damage ultimates is enough for me to feel like building AP is fine.
Well, I don't believe Sylas in general builds def cap, right? I don't think Sylas is a champion that builds def cap. You do Rod of Ages into CDR, and I'm pretty sure that both of these guys are just going to build a mix of CDR, AP, and taking this, because you don't need more damage when you have a Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa can be your single damage dealer and the entire team, and that's usually more than enough in the case that she doesn't fall far behind. And you look at the lane of Ezreal or Braum, while it's a stronger lane than Kai'Sa Alistar, I believe that they'll be safe and not get punished too hard.
Well, the other thing, too, is that when you look at 100 Thieves comp, they're not looking for team fights. They're looking for 1-3-1. Like, they want the Ryze in the side lane, they want the Riven in the side lane, and when you start talking about these builds, what probably is the most important thing at the end of the day is how well you match up in that 1-3-1, unless you feel hyper confident and engaging all the time on the mid lane with your Alistar and Nocturne, which they do have decent tools for.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to try and go for the hard engage. Alistar, Kai'Sa, Nocturne, all pretty good at getting in there very quickly.
Right, I'm hoping to see some 2v2s off the top lanes. I want to see Riven die a lot, just because...
Always. You can end the sentence there. I just want to see Riven die a lot, yeah.
Solo queue, I hate playing versus Riven. I don't know why. They're always like 0-5, but they somehow come super strong back later. And on my team, the Riven's also 0-5, but then doesn't come back to be strong later. So Riven players just in general go forward since that's the only way they really can go. And that's very punishable by a Nocturne and Karma. And I hope that he camps the Riven.
One final question for you is we have about 1 minute until we get back into game here in this one. I want to ask about huhi playing a lot of Ryze. It feels like this is it seems like his #1 champion this year on 100 Thieves. He keeps going back to it. How do you feel about him going from a more carry-oriented champion when he's not, I feel like, the strongest performer?
I mean, I don't hate it. It's a pretty high priority champion in Korea and some other places in the world. I think it makes sense with his style. He's always been best kind of in a 1-3-1, and that's when 100 Thieves was best. So I like the idea of it. I do agree it's a little bit harder of a champ to pull off than like if he was just on like Orianna duty all the time. But I still think the champ is fine, and I think it works to their play style.
Yeah,
all right, well, I got to interrupt you here.
Lissandra.
We're ready to go back into the game. So we have had the game remade. Let's send it back to Captain Flowers and Ezreal to get our casts going for game 1.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Second time's the charm. We're about to load into Summoner's Rift here for the first time today. Once more, it is Clutch Gaming on the blue side. It is 100 Thieves on the red side. And this is the battle to start digging and clawing your way out of the bottom of the standings and get yourselves back into a potential playoff position.
I'm excited. We are finally back in the game. Thank you for staying with us through that bit of a delay, but it should be a really, really exciting one. You know, they talked a lot about what should these top laners do, how should you play it, where should you focus, what should they build, and I really do think that is going to be an extremely contentious part of this game. Huni going Klepto, certainly expecting to be able to boost up very quickly as far as the gold goes, but I think regardless, he's going to do some sort of HP build. Like, I don't think he's going to go pure squishy, because I do think you can get one comboed pretty easily by Jarvan Riven if you're just no HP and no defenses whatsoever. Things like a Seekers are incredibly effective here when both Jarvan and Riven are going to be looking to attack you and are both doing pure physical damage. So it'll be interesting to see where Huni decides to go.
Everybody just playing point defense here at the start. No one looking to make any deep wards happen just yet. You're going to see the Karma from Huni walk up into the pit, maybe throw a ward over the wall, maybe just go for some Q poke. You'll find a little bit of that damage down onto Ssumday's Riven before they go into lane as minions spawn. So I guess you got a little bit of bonus damage there. Maybe grab yourself a Kleptomancy proc. And honestly, we've seen a lot of this rune, especially in the day and age where you have a lot of these range versus melee matchups. When you can take advantage of it, there's pretty much no reason not to. The gold advantage that it builds for you, especially if you can consistently proc, means you're going to have a very nice lead come the mid game. But 100 Thieves, the delayed invade now into the red buff of Clutch Game.
This was spotted out though, so they know that all three members did walk over that. The fact that they don't spot anyone means they will back up, but they're going to go right back in. And now the ward, I think, is actually dead. So I don't know if Lira realizes that this is happening. No, it was still there, my mistake. So this has been spotted. Lira's just going to bail out though, so should end up being a pretty nice start here for 100 Thieves.
Clutch almost did what they wanted to do there in waiting long enough to make 100 Thieves think that they were starting blue side and just, oh, well, there's no way we can counter jungle this because we're not going to get the fight we want. But they came out just at the last second. 100 Thieves make the call to turn around, and that's a good buff steal.
Yeah, and it's the fact that Piglet also showed in the bot lane, right? Piglet went down there to push. He didn't want to miss experience, and as a result, he is actually a significant amount of experience ahead of the Ezreal, so he's going to hit level 2 already, and you're going to see Bang still need about 3-4 more minions, but I'm not sure that's going to result in much of an advantage. We'll just kind of have to track that, as that is really the trade that they did make. And Onda now is going to spot him and should be able to take this as well.
Well, the thing is, though, this is Lethal Tempo Nocturne, which is not a champion that you 1v1.
Yeah.
That's just not something you mess with. It's so good at 1v1s, even Vedius can win with it. So you've got to be very respectful when you go up against this champion. As mid lane, it's Damonte on the losing end of the 1v1 here against Huhi's Ryze. Huhi almost out of mana, so won't be able to really push this trade that much further, but considering his opponent's down to 200 HP, he's feeling good.
And I mean, despite the fact that Onda did have the red buff, Huni roamed first, right? So there was no way that Onda was actually going to stay around once the Karma did come in. And you're expecting Karma to have the push there. Certainly it looks like Huhi does have the early advantage in that mid lane, but wasn't able to actually come over and help with that scuttle. Either way, though, it should be a 3-buff start for Onda, and he will likely be able to get that bottom scuttle, but you do have Vulcan roaming up, so there's a potential of Lira actually getting both scuttles because Clutch has the pushing bottom lane, and that's really, I think, evening out kind of any disadvantage that you did have.
Oh, Vulcan with the flash into the pulverize, looking to maybe make the headbutt happen, but a quick flash away from Onda means they're not going to get it. But considering Onda's now down the flash, that is the absolute surrender of the crab.
Yeah, so double crab does go over the way of Lira, so they're going to be feeling pretty good about this. And here's some of this trading from Huni and Ssumday up on the top side. It is Conqueror Riven, actually the champion that gained the most win rate of any champion with the new Conqueror, so certainly already was very strong. We saw Viper brought it out, got a couple wins on FlyQuest with that, and now it is even better, so certainly very, very frightening. And I do think that if Ssumday goes kind of the pseudo-defensive builds, I think 2 items really is when you kind of stop having fun as the Karma. If this guy's going to go something like Black Cleaver into a Death Dance, even if you do go tank Karma, at that point you no longer really have enough damage to really bully this guy anymore because of all the lifesteal coming through from that. And with enough CDR, you're spamming out your shield, and Riven can get very, very durable. So tracking what Huni can get done with the early advantages that he should have. And where he goes with that build will be very important.
Worth noting as well, I wanted to check on the skill order for Ssumday. He is still maxing the Q. Sometimes in these matchups where you're up against a very oppressive champion like the Karma, you'll see Riven players max the E to get a better shield, avoid some of the poke damage, but Ssumday not buying into that one, wants to go with the traditional, more offensive-based route.
And this is also a Q-Max Karma, so some of the kind of cheesiest tank Karma builds do really go shield max in these melee matchups, and they just simply shield themselves and run at you and just keep autoing you, and that's kind of how they whittle you down. So it is leading me to believe it's more likely to be, you know, a tanky AP or just pure AP style build here from Huni.
Huni coming up there with the Inspire ready to go. Looking to maybe find some more damage onto Ssumday, who starts channeling his recall just to taunt him. Dashes out of the way there of the inner flame, but Lira's making his way up into the top side. Remember, they know Ssumday does not have the ultimate available just yet. Huni running into this bush saying, come on, Riven, don't you want to come smack me?
Yeah.
Look at me right in the middle of all your minions.
Oh, they stopped the
Oh,
recall.
nice. Dustbringer onto Ssumday is going to stop that recall from getting him away, and now they're looking to make the dive. Here comes the Fear Tether, not going to find it. Ssumday doing a good job getting himself away, but it will not be enough. And first blood over to Clutch Gaming. As bottom side, it's Onda looking to make something happen. However, Vulcan with a nice pulverize to stop them in their tracks.
Really nice dive there on the top side. Despite the fact that Huni didn't actually hit that Q, it doesn't even matter because they executed very, very well. It is Nocturne that takes the aggro. Huni's shielding him up. He's tanking the maximum amount, and they're able to just stop this Riven from really being able to get away at all. And it is actually the tank Karma, so he's at least starting Iceborne here. This is such an annoying build to deal with. They're waiting the maximum amount for the next wave to come in. Lira stops the recall, and there's really no way out of this for Ssumday. Yes, he could have maybe tried to flash out the other way, but even then you're going to get chased down, so I think his hope was to just try to get a trade kill onto Lira. He handled it fairly well, but that is a really, really tough position to be put in that early on.
And that's what I like seeing from Lira too, because I think all too often when you see a team draft a champion in the top lane, like a Karma or a Jace or something that's just supposed to win lane, your jungler will look at it and say, oh, well, he's going to win lane, so I don't need to go help him. When in reality, get up there, help him dive that guy, make that lead just become unbearable, and set this Riven so far behind that he's just has to mute his team and farm up because he's so tilted.
Especially if you're going tank Karma, you are worse than useless if you are not winning the 1v1, right?
Yeah.
If you're playing tank Karma and you can't even win the 1v1, then great, you group up to a team fight and you shield them for like 6 because you have no AP, so it's pretty garbage. So you really want to make sure, especially with this style, that the jungler does get him ahead, and it's a nice early advantage already for Huni on that top side. Will make it very tough, not only for the Riven to actually all in him, but when you're getting this early armor, that makes it less approachable for Onda to come up there too.
And not only does he have the kill for the Karma, not only does he have a farm advantage of about 17, he's also got that Kleptomancy we talked about earlier. This game has 1,000 gold separating the teams, and the entirety of it is located there in the top lane. Clutch Gaming really investing towards this, going for the Huni win condition that has been how teams with Huni have won a lot of games in the past.
And the question also becomes, how do you actually snowball that lead, right? Because this is not the traditional style of Huni character where he snowballed those games, right?
No,
It's
sir.
very often hard carries, he gets ahead, he comes to team fight, he one-shots somebody, great, right? Tank Karma doesn't do that, so it could be something like he's going Iceborne for some laning power and then going into, you know, AP after that. He could commit fully to this and go Spirit Visage and really just try to commit to matching split push the whole game. But that can be difficult once Riven gets a couple items, and that may not even come to kind of fruition if somebody just gets too far behind early on. Now being forced to actually recall with a wave at his turret, plus no TP, means he's going to miss out on a good 2 full waves, plus probably lose another turret plate here.
Worth noting as well, look at the atomization coming out from Ssumday here. It's the cooldown garage sale. You see a lot of Rivens do this. You don't actually go to complete any item at the start. Instead, you just buy the low-cost CDR pieces to make it so you can spam your abilities more effectively. But it does mean you will hit your first completed item power spike later.
Yeah, that CDR is so powerful on Riven, though. Very common to see call fields into Black Cleaver. Those sorts of builds are very, very popular. People really do love Death Dance these days on the Riven, so wouldn't be surprised to see that being the second item. I also think you can go into Maw, but Death Dance is just so good and so effective against really all the opposing members.
You've also got the Iceborne Gauntlet completed now on Huni, just 9.5 minutes into the first game. That is the first item that you'll see fully done here in this matchup. But over on the other side, 100 Thieves stacking up those tiers. 2 different champions that are going to scale so well with time as they get to rattle off the spells and get those things stacked up. You can see Ssumday going to maybe bait Huni into a fight here. He's got Onda up at the top side, ready to make something happen. Flash into the EQ, goes for the Cataclysm. Huni's still in there, doesn't have a flash available to get himself away, trying to heal up, use the tethers, use the shield, get himself out. Ssumday still looking to come back in, but won't be able to do it, and 2 ults committed, a flash used, and Huni's still alive.
Yeah, it wasn't even close. It didn't really seem like Ssumday and Onda were on the same page because Onda had locked Ssumday out of the Cataclysm there. And
but now it's the counterattack coming in. They're going to make the gank work this time around. Huni's going to be taken low, but Ssumday's lower. Huni still walks himself out. Onda has no mana left to go, and they'll turn that one into an easy 2-0.
An absolute disaster in the top lane here for 100 Thieves. And this is flashback to the Olaf Jace game that we saw last week where they failed their coordination, where they failed their dive, actually against Solo, I do believe, playing the Malphite. And really, that game got out of control off of that. So certainly, very poor coordination there. Onda locks out his Riven with the Cataclysm. It's just tank Jarvan doing damage to a tank Karma. You're not going to be able to one-shot this guy. And then in comes the Nocturne. They know the ultimates are down, so this is an easy 2v2 to actually win. They're not going to be able to burst him out. The ultimate shields there coming through from Huni. More than enough to keep them up. 3 kills on the top side of the map already.
And this
is on tabbies now too. Oh my god.
This is such a good example of fantastic itemization against whatever enemy players you're going to be interacting with. As you pointed out earlier, it is an all AD jungler and enemy top laner combination that you're dealing with. So that armor just means, hey, nothing you do matters.
Yep.
I mean, sure, you can throw the Jarvan flag damage. It's like 55 magical damage if you want. Yeah, Karma's not going to negate too much of that. But at the end of the day, she's still negating 90% of the damage coming at her in terms of what the armor will be resisting. And that's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, when you look on the other side of the table, right, for Ssumday, you can say, oh, well, just get a Maw or something up against Karma, but then you have to deal with Nocturne, who's going to be flying in, and the MR is not going to help you at all there, and you would have no HP built up.
TP's coming in here from both sides. It's going to be huhi making his way into the fight here first. Lira taken low by the True Shot Barrage. Paranoia coming out. Back into the fight goes Lira. Really brave on this one. Looking to find the kill. Brings down Onda. Lira still kept alive, getting himself away. The Monster keeping him going as Bang drops to Piglet. It's 6-0 now for Clutch Gaming. Damonte will bring down aphromoo. It's 3-0 in that fight. 100 Thieves are falling apart.
Oh my god, 100 Thieves is just getting absolutely blasted in this battle for last place here in the LCS. It's going to be the Infernal going the way of Clutch as well. Massive early advantage already, and Huni now back up to the top side. He could run down Ssumday, perhaps. We'll see if he has enough damage.
And hey, bro, what are you doing this far up in the lane? You forget about me? This is where I live. This is my house. Get back under your turret.
And he is building some AP now. He has an Amp Tome. If he wants to, it's kind of continually build towards anti in this matchup, you can go Zonius. You can look towards the Seekers, which is also going to be very, very effective here, but there's a lot of options that it can go from here.
And I'm reminded of what Hai said on the desk. He said, I like seeing the tank idea because you're never going to get bursted down by Jarvan and Riven, but hey, if you're 3-0, go for a death cap. And it looks like Huni's might be looking for some headwear.
Well, you know, that's not what it builds out of, right? It's the double large
But
pod,
he's getting AP, so it's on the same track as Zale. Skarner doesn't build AP, so I don't have
Skarner doesn't build death cap. But we do have the replay here one more time. Nice spell shield on the knock-up there from Lira. Huni is TPing down. There is no TP available, I believe, on Riven. I think this replay was actually incorrect. Piglet able to follow up, diving into the back line there, taking down Bang. And not only are they getting all these kills, they're getting more key summoners because it's TP now down on the Ryze. All the summoners on the bot lane were used in the combat there too. And this could be a dive.
Huni very low on mana here, though. Won't be able to do a whole ton, but he doesn't even need to. There comes your finisher. It's Lira swooping in with the Paranoia as Damonte comes up from the side just in case reinforcements are coming in. True Shot Barrage does not even matter. It's Clutch Gaming adding yet another victory and taking the first turn.
All right, it's a disaster. When the Karma can tank your turret
with
and
no mana,
dive you at the same time, that's when you're just trying to get out of the game. You're like, all right, boys, 15. We're waiting.
Go next. But right now, Clutch Gaming is making sure 100 Thieves has no way back into this one. They are taking everything across the map, and that's really what I want to see. Don't just win. Win and then snowball that. Build it up even faster. Don't make this take longer than it has to be. North America, as Kobe said on the desk, has the longest average game time overall, which tells to me we need to clean things up. We need to make things smoother, make those transitions happen faster, and snowball those leads. Vulcan finds the wombo combo onto Onda, looking to bring him down. Cataclysm goes out. Piglet says thanks for the ult, but Onda says not today.
And Piglet had no vision to actually follow over with the ultimate because they did not have a ward over into the pit. Even if he had followed, he likely would have died to the enemy bot lane. So good escape by Onda, but still, it's more tempo going the way of Clutch. And as you say, you can kind of write off some of the time thing and say, oh, okay, well, maybe teams are playing for scaling. But especially in this game, when you have this lead, you should be able to slam this game, tape all the neutral objectives, and really be able to actually just ramp up the pace of this game and look for one of those speedrun style matchups.
Oh, absolutely. You saw the turret plates pop up there. Clutch Gaming claiming 4 of those before the 14-minute mark hit. And 100 Thieves enjoying dinner for 1. Only a single plate taken by the team here this game. 22.8 thousand gold to 28.1 thousand gold. Nearly 5,500 down. 100 Thieves are 15.5 minutes into this game. Very scary proposition, especially when you look at top side. Nearly a 3K difference between Huni and Ssumday.
And it is the Zhonya's second, so even less chance of Huni ever actually getting burst down by either of those guys. They are going to siege up here. Should be able to take down mid lane very, very easily. Again, Ssumday is not at a position where he can join to fight at all. He basically just has to stay in the side lane and attempt to catch up, attempt to get some sort of item so he can be relevant in this game. But that means anytime Clutch groups, 100 Thieves just have to give things up.
And for what it's worth, this is Transcendence Cosmic Insight Karma that already has 30% CDR in items and is past level 10, so Transcendence is active. That means he's at maximum cooldown reduction, and his Q is on lower than a 3-second cooldown.
Yeah, that's brutal. And the ultimate gets very, very low as well, also with that auto-style build, because your ultimate cooldown is actually reducing every time you're hitting with abilities, hitting with autos, so in these melee matchups, you can have that up even more often to make that Riven have even less fun.
Bottom side, it's Bang and aphromoo trying to farm up. Again, remember what I said about these tiers. That's kind of your win condition here for 100 Thieves. Just try to staunch this bleeding however you can. Let yourself stack up. Ezreal and Ryze both scale incredibly into the late game in terms of the damage. You've sort of written off the Riven at this point. Ssumday is not going to be relevant for a very, very long time. So mid-game team fights are going to be on the shoulders of huhi and Bang.
And that's why Clutch should continually take all these neutral objectives, right? They already got the Rift, they already got the first dragon. Keep grabbing all these dragons because you should have priority around all of those objectives for quite some time. Because it's up to them to not only grab all the neutrals, but to continually extend the gold lead by taking vision, by farming away enemy jungle camps, and making that so by the time 100 Thieves gets to late game, they're already too far behind.
Damonte will just continue farming up here mid. He's got the Rod of Ages on the Sylas. You can see the Sheen in inventory now as well. We've seen Sylas's before go both Iceborne Gauntlet and Lich Bane, depending on if you want to be more of a damage threat or be more of that front line. Looking at Lira's itemization, also important to note the stopwatch there on the Nocturne. You see this so many times from this champion before he has the Guardian Angel, so he can dive in and still be relevant. He can eat the True Shot Barrage there. Nice spell shield to make sure he doesn't take too much. And that is another Drake for Clutch Gaming. All objectives for them so far. 2 Drakes, 2 turrets, 1 Rift Herald. aphromoo went on to making their way into the top side. I think Onda may have meant to do something else there. I don't know if he was just fishing for a stab with the Dragon Strike onto Huni, but Huni's not afraid of this at all. He knows there's 3 people sitting up around his turret, and if they try to dive him, he'll take at least 1 with him.
Yeah, honestly, they just have almost no damage in that squad right now. Riven's not a completed item, and Onda gonna get knocked out of his combo, but nothing to follow it up. Yeah, I mean, even if they went for that dive, with how close Alistar was, there's actually a good chance that with Zhonya's and all his shielding and armor, he would live until Alistar gets there, and then 100 Thieves would all
immediately reverse it.
Yeah.
The question for 100 Thieves becomes, how do you manage to actually stop this snowball from getting bigger? Because you've got 2 of your outer turrets already down. They're still holding on to that 1 in the bottom lane. You can see Damonte rotating himself down there now, but it just seems like any fight you get into, you're going to lose.
I mean, Onda's level 9, Lira's level 12. When's the last time you saw a 3-level advantage in pro play in jungle? That is very rare.
It's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute.
And then you're looking, you know, Huni just now is 1 level above somebody, but he was just 2, so certainly massive advantages up there on the top side of the map. And 100 Thieves, they talked about it in Champ Select on the analyst desk. The guys were talking about how 100 Thieves clearly want to run a 1-3-1 comp. But that becomes very difficult when there's a super fed Nocturne out on the map and your side lanes are losing, right? Who is actually supposed to be the one to get sent out to that side lane and answer? And we can see that Huni is now going into more of a team fighty style. He's looking like he's likely going to build up something along the lines of an Ardent Censer, maybe even a Redemption here. He has the Forbidden Idol, so very likely is that Ardent Censer with the additional Amp Tome. And then he can just become that kind of secondary support for Piglet.
And Piglet, want to point out too, we've been talking about Kai'Sa builds recently with the crit item change and how a lot of times you're seeing the BF sword plus pickaxe, and then that changes into an Infinity Edge, into a Rage Blade. It provides a mid-game power spike, yada yada. We're not seeing that this time around. Blade of the Ruined King is the name of the game to help chew through some of that HP, which you'll see plenty of on both the Riven and the Jarvan, but a significant lack of armor.
Yeah, exactly. He's all fully on hit. He's going to get that E upgrade very early on. Will make him even more difficult to take down when you're adding in the Karma Shields, the additional peeling from his Alistar, plus the Invis there on the E is really, really tough to actually deal with. And you can see that it is the shield being maxed second here for Huni.
Kai'Sa's Supercharger is already evolved, which means she will go invisible when those team fights happen, and she's able to make that E pop off. Very useful for repositioning, keeping herself away from a Jarvan and a Riven that are already behind and will definitely have their work cut out for them, trying to find the marks that matter on the side of Clutch Gaming. But Damonte, Piglet, and Vulcan all set up here in the bottom side, trying to push onto this tier 2, have it down to about half HP. And this is where we're hitting that point that I talked about earlier, Ezreal, where I want to see North American teams start to really push the pace of things in the mid-game. You've got the outer turrets down. Things become significantly more difficult once you reach that second row, get some wards down, move into enemy territory, and really start putting them in that chokehold.
Yeah, exactly. The Baron is on the table now, right? You want to see them establish all that vision control, as you're saying, especially, I think, on that top side of the map. Get all your pinks down in that area. Deny not only vision in the Baron Pit, but actually deny access to even get vision in the Baron Pit by taking over that jungle, farming it away. Because if you get an early Baron at this point of the game with this monumental gold lead, there should be no coming back whatsoever for 100 Thieves, because for them right now, the hope is certainly delay, that Clutch cannot actually secure a Baron, that you just make this game get so long that eventually you're catching up, that eventually Ssumday is hitting multiple items and becoming somewhat relevant.
We're looking for silver linings on Dark Clouds for 100 Thieves. The Muramana is fully evolved now. Second tier stacked up to about 200 out of 750 there for Bang. So that one will be down probably around 27 minutes or so. And that means your Ezreal will be incredibly strong. Mid lane, you can also see the Seraph's Embrace fully evolved through the Ryze. Oblivion Orb also in the inventory for more Spell Pin. And when you look at the front line of the side of Clutch Gaming, you can see on both your Nocturne and your Karma, there's no magic resistance. You've got a Chain Vest on the Nocturne. You've obviously got all this armor we've been talking about on the Karma, but both these guys will melt if Huhi's able to rattle off some spells.
Yeah, Huhi certainly has been farming well. Bang has been doing fine. Those guys are not really individually very far behind, so they are still reasonably strong. It's much more about those team fights, so perhaps we can see 100 Thieves try to look to fight away from Huni, away from Lira, and try to avoid a lot of the power that has been built up on those guys.
Some of that power you're seeing demonstrated right now as Ssumday loses about 60% HP, trying to step too close to Huni's Karma. Huhi will continue to just try to answer Damonte down here in the bottom side as Damonte accidentally grabs the minion, dashing forward, looking for Huhi there, takes some extra damage on his way out. Blue-Shot Barrage comes flying through, just barely misses out on the target, but not like it would have been able to find the kill anyway.
Yeah, and when Ssumday does finish his Death Dance, he is going to feel a lot more relevant, but he's so far behind as far as the individual gold goes that when he hits his 2-item power spike, Huni's going to be at 3.5, maybe even 4 items. But he does have the advantage that Huni is building now less for the 1v1, right? The Ardent Censer is not a super powerful 1v1 style item. That is very clearly about the team fights. So if 100 Thieves can actually delay this game and drag it out, you certainly will be able to hit the point where all of a sudden Ssumday has a Death Stance, he has his completed Last Whisper, and then you really not only can put out a lot of damage, but you're going to be able to kind of heal through most of what Huni can actually trade back.
Yeah, Death Stance is an item that I think is actually an incredible purchase as a win more item. When you're ahead, it makes you feel nigh unkillable. You're pretty much God mode. You just jump in, heal off of everything. None of their damage will be relevant enough. But at the current point in time, it's only going to bring him back up to a spot where he maybe starts to feel like he doesn't have to run away every time he sees Huni's character on his screen.
Yeah, and pretty much anytime you're playing a tank, playing against Death Dance always feels pretty doomed because you just don't put in enough DPS to actually threaten the Riven when he already has 30% CDR, spamming his E, absorbing so much of your damage, plus then having all the healing. And we did just have an audio issue with Vulcan, but it has been resolved. Getting some ready checks, and then we'll be right back into it, so it should not take long whatsoever. But definitely, you know, I'm trying to paint the way in which 100 Thieves conceivably could come back, but they are obviously very, very far behind, and you know, it's going to take pretty much a miracle, I feel like, for them to be able to kind of claw their way back in this game.
Yeah, the bleeding that we mentioned earlier has not been stopped. The game has been increased to about a 6,500 gold difference 23 minutes in. Still 1 Infernal and 1 Cloud on the side of Clutch Gaming. Ocean Drake will be the one spawning next. So for 100 Thieves, that's good because Ocean Drake #1, 23 minutes in, honestly isn't that great. It's not super impactful. So that's one less big objective. If that's an Infernal or something, then you're going to feel a lot worse about it. But Clutch Gaming will continue pushing up here in the bottom side. Tier 2 turret under pressure. And Damonte will bring the chains down on this one. Not quite able to take it out just yet, but as the waves keep pushing, the pressure keeps coming, shouldn't take too much longer. Lira soloing down that Drake, recognizes the fact that Clutch Gaming has control over so much of the map. Look at those wards in the enemy jungle placed down by Clutch. They've got them through all the brushes, all the paths. They know if anybody from 100 Thieves is coming. They know they're not, so the Drake is free.
Yep, and they do have a lot of vision on that side of the map, but where I think you can start to look is on the other side of the map. And 100 Thieves still has access to their red buff, to that area where Bang is sitting around. They still have access to actually boarding over onto the Baron pit. That is where you want to see them actually push up, and this is something that I think we've seen particularly done well by Cloud9. One of the teams that really does shut out vision in that Baron area. So that is Clutch's next objective. Yeah. Now that you have the Ocean, that's going to help you with those Baron baits, be able to heal up if you're taking any damage from that. But they need to get over to that area. They need to establish vision control and try to close this one out as fast as they possibly can, because you have an enormous advantage. And if you want to be working towards playoffs, you need to be practicing, not just to scrape by and get wins, but to try to do it as close to perfect as you possibly can.
And I feel like this is actually a pretty common trait shared amongst a lot of teams that are on a lower tier in the standings. It's not like these teams just go into every game and get completely blasted from the very start. They get some leads, but then they don't know how to actually translate them into victories. They end up waiting too long, or they throw for something that doesn't really match what they should be doing at that point in time. And so that's the name of the game here for Clutch Gaming. Don't let those tier champs scale. Don't let Ryze and Ezreal get to the point where you go, wait, where'd my health go? There's no reason to be waiting all that time. They've got themselves 4 turrets now, so there's the first one of the tier 2 ring falling as Huni grabs it there in the bottom side. Onda, Bang, aphromoo, the rest of 100 Thieves, they're doing a good enough job turtling. They just have to keep on keeping on, hope that they can hold the line. Still 2 of those tier 2s left to go, trying to put control wards down in their own jungle to remove some of this Clutch Gaming vision.
And you can see Monte is out quite to a big individual lead, and he's going to be the guy who obviously is trying to match huhi in that side lane. He did build up a Spirit Visage, so he is fairly tanky here. They have him as kind of their pseudo frontliner. Roa into basically pure tank is the build for now. And I think it makes a lot of sense. As I said on the analyst desk, Piglet on the Kai'Sa has more than enough damage as long as this guy stays protected. He is doing very well on the farm. He's already at his 2 items and is going to be working towards additional ones.
And I'm going to take up a little bit of issue here with Piglet's build. Goes for the QSS right after the Blade of the Ruined King and the Ginsu's Rage Blade. But when you've got an Alistar, when you've got a Karma that's going to be looking to protect you, and when you are really the one big damage source on your team, feels like it should be more heavily indexed just into straight damage, because the only thing the QSS is really going to save you from here is if Braum gets 4 procs of Winter's Bite on you, which shouldn't happen because you're going to have people in front of you, or if Ryze lands a root. Feels like Piglet's just a little bit too afraid here with the itemization choice.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that. I mean, I think his argument would certainly be, well, I am so far ahead, I'm going to do so much damage anyway that the only way we could possibly lose is if I get one shot, and that requires them to root me and burst me down, so QSS stops that. So I can see that, but I do tend to agree.
aphromoo trying to get himself away now. Paranoia coming in, Stasis goes out, but it will not be enough, and a killing spree for Lira is another kill over to Clutch Gaming. 100 Thieves still yet to respond.
Yep, and Clutch now finally getting some vision up in this topside jungle. You can see them a pink in the pit, some more wards being dropped down in this area. I would like to see them try to go and actually start baiting over by that Baron pit, but instead they're looking for a dive potentially on huhi, or at least to push him back.
Remember, they got the Jarvan ulti there for Damonte, but got a lot of AP in the build. It means he's not going to have that insane burst from the Cataclysm. As bottom side, Huni ends up getting the ultimate out of Ssumday. Not too worried about it, though. Vulcan coming around from behind. Headbutt into the pulverize, getting them further away from the turret, allowing the headbutt to get the full distance, but now backing away still anyway. Vulcan popping the ult, taken down to about 1/3 HP. Realm Warp comes out. Alistar goes away, and they manage to get him away from that one. But now, the Realm Warp to chase after them. It was the stolen one used first, the real one used second. He's saying, hey, that's my trick.
Yeah. All right, nicely done. They do try to chase them out. It was a good Sylas ult to get Vulcan out of there, as my brain kind of broke and I thought it was the opposite.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I was thinking the same thing at the start.
Either way, we do see that Riven is now on his death's dance. So likely going to be working towards, I would expect the Last Whisper if he actually is going to be laning continuously up against Huni because he has so much armor there. I think that would be pretty effective. Huni now finishing his Mikhails, so again, more for the team fight. And Clutch really, I am disappointed that they are not trying to even start up the Baron. They have not tried to bait the Baron a single time.
You've got Kai'Sa.
Yeah, you have Kai'Sa, you have Karma to shield you through the damage. You have Sylas who could be tanking up a lot of this. You have a lot of DPS to actually burn it down. And you know, it's been on the map for quite some time. They are giving 100 Thieves a lot of time in this game to kind of scrape their way back in. Bang is stacking up that second tier. It's about to transform within the next minute or so. He's over 700 stacks already, so we'll be getting ready for fights.
And look at the vision. 100 Thieves has almost total control in the top side of their jungle. This is what we wanted to see Clutch Gaming moving up towards, what we wanted to see them suffocating away from 100 Thieves, so they felt afraid to even go check the Baron pit. But instead, it's Clutch that seems to just be content sitting on their laurels, waiting to scale the advantage even harder. But Lira will go for yet another Drake. This will be the 4th elemental this game for the side of CG. But you really want to see him looking towards something more.
And this is something where you do often see this with teams that are lower in the standings, is sometimes they get nervous about throwing away a lead. And that can cause them to play very, very risk-averse, which sometimes can end up, ironically, throwing away the lead, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're not actually having that killer instinct and a team that does have powerful scaling is given time to kind of build their way back into this game, Bang is pretty much fully online, right? He has his cutlass, he has his 3 items, both tiers are stacked, and he's sitting on Sork Boots, and you can certainly make the argument that he shouldn't have been given that time to freely stack that up. Ssumday as well. There's now 2 support items on Huni, so the individual gold lead there matters much less. I think that when Ssumday completes his 3rd item, he's going to be the one actually winning those 1v1s in a side lane now. So certainly, Clutch are still in a very good spot, and IE is now complete on Piglet. This is when they should go for something.
Piglet trading back and forth here with Bang. On to looking to go in, but a Cataclysm! The QSS will not matter. The shutdown comes out anyway at 100 Thieves. They find a big pick for the first kill of the game, and they are taking the opportunity that Clutch would not. They're making some moves, they're making some plays, they're bringing down the turret in the mid lane, and now we'll see if Clutch has any sort of a response.
I mean, they're just going to Baron now. They're walking over there. They know that is almost all the damage on the team here. Piglet just walks up, bold as you like, doesn't use the ult, doesn't use the flash.
And this is the problem, Ezreal, when you have a 1 damage source team composition. If that dude gets popped like a balloon, the party's over.
And they're now on the Baron. If 100 Thieves can take this, they'll be right back into this game. We've got to see the 4-man hold here from Clutch.
aphromoo throwing out the Glacial Fissure. Looks like they're just trying to make Clutch Gaming into the fight here now. Instead, Huni gonna be stunned up, brought down. That's another big reward going over to 100 Thieves. The Cataclysm is out, the Sylas is down, and the winds of change are blowing. 100 Thieves is turning this thing around.
I have no idea what Clutch is doing. Letting 100 Thieves back in it, but they have found their way into this fight. They have taken down Piglet. They get more picks, and they're right back onto the Baron now. It is a 3v5. Ssumday has TP'd back. This could easily be 100 Thieves Baron here.
Piglet back alive. You've got your damage source here again. Baron taken down to about 4K. aphromoo gonna be down to half HP. Piglet jumped on again and just completely deleted from the map. What in the world is going on here as it's a double kill over to Bang, and 100 Thieves will eviscerate Clutch Gaming. The resurrection will not matter. The shutdown comes out, and they have got to be feeling fantastic. It is Baron for 100 Thieves.
100 Thieves have gotten control over this game now. We talked about the time that they needed to scale up. Clutch gifted it over to them time and time again, never actually having that killer instinct. And now, on the heels of this play, aphromoo finding the engage with the Braum ulti, they're able to get up onto Huni and burst him right out. The jungler goes down as well, and then even though Piglet is actually coming back, there's not really the protection there for him, and Piglet twice in a row just goes down so easily. You can see them stepping forward. He gets tagged by the Q, tagged by a Braum hit there, does ult nicely to the side, but did you see that flash from Onda redirecting the flag and drag after it had been ulted to be avoided by Piglet? That was a sick play from Onda. Just deleting Piglet off the map. Now with the shutdowns and the Baron, Dragons be damned. I think 100 Thieves are in the lead with the composition here. Look at the items.
This ain't Game of Thrones, man. I don't care about Dragons anymore.
Yeah.
This is 100 Thieves coming back in a game that they had no business even being in.
Gotta be one of the worst throws I've ever seen.
Absolutely. This is an 8,000 gold lead with complete control over everything in the game. Not a single kill, a single objective, a single anything on the enemy side. And Clutch Gaming have now found themselves in a spot where it's totally turned on its head.
I mean, look at the top lane now. Look at the itemization. I think that Huni stands 0 chance in this 1v1 now. Not only is it the Death Stance as well as the Cleaver, he has a Hex Drinker on top of the Mortal Reminder, so he is fully online to easily 1v1 Huni. Huni is not going to be able to even touch this guy anymore, and now 100 Thieves can just look to set up the full split push that they had wanted from the very beginning.
Clutch Gaming will try to defend the mid lane tier 2. The turrets are all tied up now as well. 4-4 as Clutch Gaming have lost their first tier 2 up there in the top side to huhi split push. Baron power play already up to plus 4,500 almost. 47.55 there after the turret gets taken down. As Ssumday will grab yet another one. This is what we wanted to see from Clutch Gaming. Taking your advantages, pushing them into your opponent, and making it so there's no way for them to do anything about it. The Realm Warp will be stopped. Good play there coming out from Clutch Gaming. They get the punish, and they get the catch.
Yeah, huhi not using the Zonias or the stopwatch, so kind of just seemed like he was accepting his death there. Maybe didn't think that there was any way out for him, so just wants to hold on to the cooldowns.
Yep.
Either way, good pick from Clutch, and they are now in a 5v4 position, so they're trying to force a fight here.
Oh, but it's Onda going in, looking to start things off. It's going to be a 4v4 rather quickly. Piglet stuck in the Cataclysm, looking to find the damage, maybe turn things back around. Bang going to be taken very low. Shutdown credit over to Piglet. 100 Thieves find themselves a double kill on the back of the AD carry, and 100 Thieves are saying, you want to throw, man? Let's play some catch. Here's the ball.
What are they doing? Why is 100 Thieves engaging 4v5 when huhi is off the map there? Piglet is still alive. This guy is still very strong. He's on 3 completed items, and Piglet will take those certainly every single time. They're going to be able to grab another dragon here. The Baron buff just kind of completely thrown away from 100 Thieves.
Yeah.
I mean, that is somewhat indefensible, right? You know, your mid laner is dead. They choose this engage. It is them going in, right? You know, yes, Nocturne is up on the top side, but still, Piglet is so strong in this position. I feel like it was a pretty poor fight to choose. Huni does just barely survive, but Piglet was fully untouched, right? They were not even close to taking down Kai'Sa, who is really the key member there. They would have had to be much more coordinated and fully burst down Piglet as they did in some of the earlier fights for that to really ever work out, as an untouched Kai'Sa is going to delete your whole team there.
And you saw Onda go in and nearly kill Huni, and I mean, that's great if you're talking about Huni from back at 20 minutes where he was the big, bad, fed dude. But now that he's got 2 support items, now that the Karma's not really that big of a story anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's a head scratcher coming out from me as the game is 300 gold apart, Ezreal.
And I do think as they go in one more time, looking for another fight.
Piglet starting things off. The burst damage coming through. Lira's going to be taken low. Shield comes down. Onda goes in. Almost going to be taken out now. Vulcan with the 3-man pulverize. Onda finally going to fall. Piglet going on a killing spree. Looking to find even more. Vulcan taking very low. Double kill over to huhi. As it's Piglet trying to get himself out. Popping the QSS. Staying alive for now. Looking to find the auto attacks here yet again. But bang once again into the back lines. Mystic shots flying. Clutch Gaming dying. And that's 100 Thieves getting themselves an ace.
100 Thieves with the ace there. Ssumday TP's in, turning around that fight, and Piglet not able to survive. And they are going to march it down in bot lane. They might just be able to end. There's 40 seconds on Damonte, Piglet, and Huni. I think this is actually game.
Yeah, you got 20 seconds coming up on your jungler and your support, but that a team does not make. 100 Thieves, 4 men strong, pushing into the bottom side. They've got the minion waves here already. Lira and Vulcan with only seconds to go. Nexus turrets under siege. Number 1 is down. Number 2 is about to get the Ezreal treatment as Vulcan goes in and tries to stop these guys. Ssumday into the ultimate. Clutch Gaming on their last-ditch defense, but it will not matter. And 100 Thieves will claim the win.
And you could see the frustration on the face cams there from Clutch. Disbelief on the face of Damonte. they were enormously ahead. An early 6,000 to 8,000 gold lead. They did absolutely nothing from 20 to 28 minutes. And then 100 Thieves, Piglet opts into a mid lane fight, dies. 100 Thieves are able to turn that into a Baron fight where they're taking more kills. Eventually getting that Baron, they completely threw their advantage.
Clutch Gaming is going to need some serious VOD review after this game. They did an impeccable job building an amazing lead in the early game, but the mid game was just a complete falter from start to finish. But looking at the team who won, looking at 100 Thieves, looking at this squad that, as you said at the start of this matchup, was a squad that people had incredibly high hopes for coming into this split. Well, you won your battle here at the bottom. Now's your chance to start trying to claw your way up and get back towards those playoff standings. But even though they found the comeback here, I think there's still a lot to work on here for this team.
Oh, there definitely is. I mean, this is for sole possession of last place. This is a team with aspirations for Worlds. That's where they came from last year, right? They are trying to compete with the top, and they essentially had to be gifted this win. You know, Clutch had an enormous lead, weren't able to do anything with it, but still, the top lane jungle synergy, 400 Thieves, has been an issue. It was an issue last week when they tried to play a carry. Again here on the Riven, they got massively behind. Yes, it didn't result in a loss, but I think there's a lot of things to work on for both these teams.
Well, to see how it all shook out, let's go ahead and send things over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much. What a game. At about 18 minutes, we're like, this is going to be a perfect game. Oh my gosh, 100 Thieves are in the dumpster. Imagine making that kind of a drop, and
They could still be in the dumpster.
Welcome to
I think they're both in the
Fiesta.
dumpster. Both teams are in the dumpster at this point, right?
Yeah.
You saw on their faces after the win. Both teams look pretty depressed because one team lost having 5 dragons, 10K gold up or something like that, and the other team won being behind 5 dragons and 10K down. Like, no one really wins out of that.
No.
Yep. So let's talk about what happened in the game, and we'll show you as well. They're worth 1,000 words, 60 times a second. Top lane real, lots of stuff went down this poor Riven. He waited to stop the recall, to take one more wave. Easy recall stop, easy first blood.
And I mean, Ssumday has a good idea of what he's trying to do, but I think over the course of this game, you can kind of tell he was not super good at Riven. Like, he goes for the flashback, trying to get the knockup, but not quite the right range. He's probably dead no matter what, but you could also maybe save your flash. Didn't end up happening, and then they keep getting chain killed kind of in the top lane, out-traded because it's a pretty difficult laning phase, all things considered. And then when they finally bring Onda up for their own 2v2s to try and make some kills happen, they horribly misplay those too.
Right, I think this is one of those cases where, like, when I watch Ssumday play Riven and I compare it to a one-trick Riven, like Fox or even a few of the other ones, I'm pretty sure that the one-trick Rivens are just strictly better at Riven than Ssumday. Even though he's a professional player, there's a pretty big difference between knowing the limits of what you can do on a champion, and you can clearly see it there, and he gets punished for his greed here.
But it doesn't end up mattering, Freak.
Nope, we've got some Kaisa going about as melee range as the Riven was, and oof. So a couple of 100 Thieves teamfight wins happened later on, of course, and you guys are putting a lot of flack onto Piglet for how he played these teamfights.
I mean, he has flash right now, and this is a little bit before then. It was a long sequence. It started with first him going melee range and getting hit by a Jarvan EQ, which causes him to die, and that starts out the advantage that 100 Thieves has to start baiting around Baron. He respawns, goes back here, has flash still, and instead of flashing that combo out, he R's in to dodge it, which puts him in another position where he gets killed with his flash still up. If Piglet played both situations correctly, maybe this is the game that Clutch Gaming is able to win, but he gets his team aced.
Yeah, super sick by Enda though. He flashed it like
Onda's
sees
sick.
the ult and flash it like that was sick.
Onda's sick.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, they just keep winning these fights. We get another dunk back into the front line, and it's one that goes pretty closely. That even despite this good pulverize, cleanup still happens.
I think that's a common occurrence that I see Piglet do a lot, and knowing him
And then watch
personally
Bang.
and playing versus him.
Bang just completely by himself. He would have gotten down to 1/3. He keeps putting the shots down there. There is a nice
He got rooted by
ult out of Riven.
who he got the root down. Well, as I was saying, Piglet, generally speaking, likes to be as aggressive as possible and try and punish the enemy by using their cooldowns or dragging as much pressure that he can without dying for it. That's how he likes to play a lane, and he likes to play the game that way as well. But when you do that and don't do it correctly and get punished, you throw games like you do there.
And the biggest throw point to me was the thing that started all of those replays that we just saw was Piglet doing exactly what you're saying. Just at a trade
1v3.
at his turret, 1v3, ease in to throw out these auto attacks. That's how he dies the first time. And then they start all these chain deaths around the Baron. They lose the Baron, they lose the 6,000 gold lead or whatever it was.
Riven's back in the game, doesn't even need to play it super well.
Yeah. you have to ask yourself, what do you really get from trying to 1v3 there, other than maybe like 100, 200, 300 damage? Like, you don't really gain anything. At best, you die and lose a game. And as you saw, you died there and lost a game. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's what it is. So we're going to take a break. Up next, we've got Echo Fox versus TSM for Game 2. So we'll see you after the break. Stay Triangle.
And they're going to make the gank work this time around. Huni's going to be taken low, but Ssumday is lower. Huni still walks himself out. Onda has no mana left to go, and they'll turn that one into an easy 2 for 0.
Braum. I have stun initial. I will kill Braum. There's no dead. There's no flash. Is there no flash? Good, yes.
Looks like they're just trying to make Clutch Gaming into the fight here now. Instead, Huni going to be stunned up, brought down. That's another big reward going over to 100 Thieves.
Nocturne.
As it's Piglet trying to get himself out of the QSS, staying alive for now, looking to find the auto attacks here yet again, but bang, once again, into the back lines. Mystic shots flying, Clutch Gaming dying, and that's 100 Thieves getting themselves an ace.
Oh no, are you okay, Mike?
Yeah, got a pretty big fender bender here.
Don't worry, State Farm's got you covered.
That's great to hear. Robin, what's going on?
Are you sure you're okay?
Yeah, I think so.
We're gonna get you a tow truck, Mike.
Thank you. Real fender bender going on here. Fender bender. Everybody remain calm. No reason to panic.
Go with the one that's here to help life go right. State Farm.